Hello everybody, Soulgator2 here, welcome back to another Hytale video. Now today we're going to be talking about every single Hytale image inside my Hytale image folder. Now, I thought about doing this because, well, I thought it would be funny. So, I have a lot of images, so let's get into it. So this first image here, what looks to be like a giant castle with a guy with some sort of golden armor, and then another person with a bow and arrow fighting one of the what looks to be like mini boss characters with like thorium armor and stuff. Next image we have what seems to be a zone 1 Trork camp. We have the Trork captain and all of the other different types of Trorks. Now this seems really nice with like what seems to be a Quebec nursery of sorts. So I find that like kind of funny and interesting. Then we also have some more Trorks here. We have a Trork magician. We have a Trork warrior. I forgot what the spear Trorks are called. And then there's the Trork captain again. We have what seems to be like a castle, and then here's another second image of what looks to be like a different part of it, which I find really cool. This is something like where you could probably like build it back up for new players. Here we also have an image of a scarab nest, which what seems to be like, I think that's a scout. I'm not too sure, but you can also see some scarab eggs on the outside. Now the funny thing is that anthills in real life have their eggs really deep inside the nest. So it's crazy that they're like out there, and they probably might change that, but hey, it's just a game. So, but yeah, here's what seems to be like a picture of the zone 4 underground. It looks very luscious. I love the colors used here. It looks very swampy, and I don't usually like swamps in games, but this is like a swamp done right. Here's what seems to be a prefab. Now I think this prefab has been explained to be like some sort of like thing that connects to like a prefabbed underground cave. So that might be very exciting to explore. That's also next to a Trork sort of camp. Then we're here on what seems to be like a zone 3 beach with buried treasure. Now buried treasure would be a really cool thing to have in the game, because if you think about it, it would be very good to get like a lot of riches and stuff early on, because they might be able to use to buy stuff from like NPCs such as the Quebecs and the Slothians. Here's another what seems to be like boss or mini boss. I think this might be a void golem, I think. And this seems to be probably in zone 6, I'm gonna say. I don't know, but it does look like somewhere in zone 6. I mean, you can see by all of the plant life, and I really like the purple trees because it reminds me of the purple trees in Terraria. It gives like a sense of corruption, and I really like that. Next we have another type of Quebec. We have like the outside of the Quebec village. Here's an image of what seems to be like the server lobby, and what I realized is down at the bottom right you can actually see all of these statues depicting the mini game. So the first one, there's a guy like standing on a bed, so that's probably Bed Wars. So I think there are like 2 mini games that haven't been announced yet, but we might gather what they are from this image here. Here's another image of what seems to be a zone 4 cave, and this is really cool because it shows like all of the underground and vines, and you can also see like the sunlight coming in from top. Now here, this is very interesting because the oceans are something that aren't really touched upon in games like this, but I do really like the oceans in Hytale. Now, there's the funny thing here, which if you look in the bottom where the player is going down, you can faintly see the Man-O-War jellyfish. Now, its design is really cool. However, the Man-O-War in real life doesn't actually live in caves. It more just floats on the surface of the sea and then just eats anything that comes into contact with its, like, tentacles. But still is really cool to see. Here's another picture of what seems to be like another Zone 4 cave. I really like the plant life here, like that pink flower off to the right, to those like green flowers, and what looks to be like fly traps on the left, if you look at that blue one. So maybe it's like type of fairy traps, and they like trap fairies in them or something. That would be kind of cool. Here we have, of course, a Zone 2 area with a person attacking a skeleton. What looks to be a magical skeleton or a magician skeleton. I don't know what they're calling them. It seems like they might be able to be taken down really easily from a close range. Now, this is an image that I've already shown, but this looks like somewhere inside of like a cave or a dungeon. And I find this extremely cool because this could be like somewhere where you need to get a special item to complete a sort of quest. Here is what looks to be like a Zone 1 like off biome, because the zones are gonna have like mini biomes in the zones, like that are basically zones in themselves. And this looks like a really cool Twilight Forest type thing, and I would really like to build a base in there, because the Twilight Forest mod is actually one of my favorite mods in Minecraft, and I love building in it. Here's back in the Scarrock nest. You can see the Scarrocks basically everywhere. Here is another image of what looks to be like a Zone 1 prefab, because you can see from the earth crystals in the background, and also the generic looking skeletons, because in other zones skeletons look much different. Now this looks like a Zone 2 mini boss, and this I feel like is going to be really great, because I feel like this like ties to the other skeleton that I was talking about earlier. So this could be like a skeleton magician like library or something. That would be really cool. Here we have one of the most recent pictures actually. We have herb growing on the left, some what looks to be like crows or something flying at the top, a huge house in the background, bird, a rock, and someone holding what looks to be fertilizer, and another person holding earth staff. Next we have what seems to be like a Zone 2 area. Now the moon in this game is round. And this is very interesting, because the math behind this makes no sense, right? Because if you have a whole world basically just made out of blocks, how would it be round? Not to mention that the literal name of the world is named Orbis, so it's literally an orb in itself. However, there might be something to do with that in the story, I don't know yet, or it might be explained later on. But maybe there's some reason for everything being blocky, or yeah. Here's another person grabbing fertilizer from a cow. Now, I feel like farming in Hytale is going to be much more advanced to farming in Minecraft, because usually in Minecraft, all you have to do is place down a bucket of water, place down your seeds, and then you can go do other stuff. Now, I feel like if you neglect your crops in Hytale, then they'll wither, and then that way you can't basically grow them anymore. And not only that, but I feel like there'll be different seasons, because it's already said that there's going to be like autumn and everything, so there might be different seasons and different zones where you have to like grow certain types of vegetables, foods, herbs. So I feel like it would give it more of like an understanding and reason to build bases in different zones. We also have an image of all of the elements here. Now, I wanted to go over the elements again, because I was looking at some of like the concept arts of everything earlier, looking at the fire, wind, earth, lightning, water, and void. However, there's one thing left, and that is the light element, because I was going over everything, and then I was just like, wait, but isn't like light one of like most of the common RPG like type magics? And as I was going on, I found Gaia, concept art, and we'll get to that later because it says something about light magic. But anyways, to the next one, I've shown this in a video as well, flaming swords. I've said that maybe magic can be ingrained into weapons, and that would be absolutely sick. What seems to be like a zone 3 or 4 like necromancer or something like that. There's also a crow up there. Now these two images are really cool. I love this zone 2 desert image. It fits like the whole game perfectly. I even has it I don't know why my English is terrible today. I have it as my wallpaper on my second monitor, and I have this image as my wallpaper on my first monitor. I just find them really cool, to be honest. Then we also have this one, which seems to be like more in-game stuff. We have the health bar, 3 other short bars, and then a long blue bar. I think the blue bar is obviously gonna represent mana, magic, or whatever you say or pronounce it as. Obviously the red bar is going to be like health. Now I really want there to be like different types of health things, so maybe it could be bars or it could be numbers, because I feel like if you changed it to numbers, then it would make a lot more sense to like keep your health and stuff on check, and you might be able to level up your health more later on in the game with like attachments and accessories. Here we have a guy running away from a Scarab tank and a Scarab warrior, I think. Yeah, Scarab warrior. We also have this library. Now when I first saw this image really intrigued me, because this looks like somewhere endgame. So I think this is probably going to be in one of those like memory mirrors, because there's something about that later on that I'll say about. But basically, I feel like this is going to be like an endgame library where like you can go to research endgame magic and stuff. Here we have a zone 4, the zone 4 underground again, where I can't remember what that dinosaur is called. It looks like a triceratops, but I know it isn't. It's called something else, and I completely forgot the name. We have another cave raptor over there though. Okay then, next one. We have another zone 3. Now I really like this image because this reminds me of the giant tree in the Lost River in Subnautica, even though this isn't underwater. So I like how this is tying into a lot of stuff and a lot of survival games that I've played before. Oh, I'm talking so much that I'm losing my breath. Okay. This is an overview of the Zone 2, and I really like how, like, some of these biomes are really close together, so then that way they're also easy access. Because you can see, like, the deserted savanna, but then you can also see, like, the Scarab biome where that is. And there also seems to be, like, bones in the biome, so maybe that could be used for something. But there's also, of course, it ties in with the ocean biome that is probably connected to Zone 3. So it blends in with the world extremely well. Next we have these 3 ocean mobs, the Man of War, which we saw earlier in that cave. The piranha we have seen before, but we've also seen a corrupted version of it, which I think I have in this video. I don't know if I do or not. And we also have a moray eel. Now I love eels. I tell you, they're one of my favorite things in the ocean. They're scary, but at the same time, they're really cute for some reason, and I don't know why, but they look extremely cool. And I hope they go through like their stages of life, so they morph into their like other eel forms. Next we have what seems to be like the different places that you can get crystals, the air, sand, frost, fire, and there's probably going to be some for lightning and void. And the one that I like the most is definitely the frost one, because it reminds me of that one pillar in Shark Boy and Lava Girl, where they have to like climb up that ice pillar to get like the crystal heart and stuff. It's a great film. Definitely recommend watching. Next we have the Void Eye. Now there's many different types of Void Eye. Now I don't think they went with many of these. I think they just went with one of them and called it that. And it looks like they went for the fourth one. Now the thing is though, even though the fourth one looks really cool, I really like the fifth and sixth one, because the fifth one, even though it looks kind of stupid, it looks like a good stupid, and something that you would want in a game for like comedic value, but also just like something to scare you, because imagine something coming up in the dead of night with like a scythe that it swings at you. I find that extremely cool. And then also the sixth one with the eyes, but then also it has two small eyes and then a giant mouth. I feel like that would be really cool just to see as it like tries to bite your head off. Here we have the big boy himself, the Void Dragon, probably one of like the end game bosses. And the Void Dragon looks insanely cool. In the trailer it looks cool, in this it looks cool. At the top left, it looks like that's a different type of Void Dragon. So that might be like an upped level of the Void Dragon. So like an even harder version of it. Okay, next image here. So this seems to be like different type of herbs. So we have the magma flowers. So that might be a flower that can only grow in say like zone 4. And then all of these pink and blue flowers at the top here. It looks like these grow in probably the zone 4 undercaves. Then to the left you can see all of like these herbs here and going through their like forms of development, because here you can see that these ones have, even though they basically look the same, they have two different models, so they might be in two different biomes. So there will be herbs that you can find in different biomes that just have different looks to them, which I find really cool, because then that way you don't have to travel to another like biome to get a common herb. Next we move on to the Kraken. Now this Kraken is really cool because basically it shows the early sketch of the Kraken. However, in a different concept art, it says that this Kraken is apparently the Far Ocean Kraken. So maybe there are two different types of Kraken. The Far Ocean Kraken and then the normal Kraken, which sort of looks like a nautilus and like some sort of squid or octopus combined. So that looks really cool. Next one we have the temple. Now the temple looks insane. This is definitely endgame. And you can see up the top right, there's also the memory mirrors. So it looks like there's one for each zone. Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3. So there you might be able to learn like how Orbis is today and why it's all like ruined. Next one, it seems to be a Zone 2 dungeon. This seems to be like a mansion of some sort. So people that like lived in Zone 2 before. And now we're finally onto this Gaia image. Now it says that she has 5 ponytails for each element: fire, earth, water, lightning, and wind. And there's also the human-made statue, the Quebec-made statues. I won't go over that, but apparently they're made out of like some sort of ancient special tree. A Farron-made statue. And then it says here that the white parts of her clothes symbolize the light, the primary element of Gaia. So even though it doesn't say anything about like a 7th element being, well, or is it? Yeah, it is 7th. Even though it doesn't say anything about the 7th element being used, it's still an element that's in the world of Hytale and that might be able to used in the game. Okay, then next, dungeons and towers. Of course, this is basically just everything here, but the first thing I thought when I looked at this image was the bottom left one. That looks like a spirit fox. sharks. Now, if you don't know what they are, they're basically like in Japanese folklore, and basically, apparently they're like magical beings slash gods, and it would be really cool to have, say you're like a wizard, but like you can also have magical pets to fight alongside you. That would be really, really cool, and I would love to see that. Here we have 2 other characters in the game. Now, when we play the game, I don't think Tessa is going to be alive. I feel like Tessa's just going to be something in, like, the memory mirrors that you'll see in the past, or you play as her for, like, a tiny bit in the memory mirror to, like, remember everything. Or you can play as Cryos to learn about everything, or maybe Tessa and Cryos are the same person. That's something that I wanted to go over as well, because they look very similar. However, they have called Tessa a she and Cryos a he, so it might be a possibility, but it's a very small possibility. Next image here, we have main inspiration of scale here for like a gate thing type thing. What seems to be like a zone 1 entrance, so there might be like different entrance portals and stuff to different biomes, because it would be really cool if you can find like a portal built next to it, and then that way you'll be able to teleport between biomes instantly. Or this could be like some sort of dungeon entrance like it says at the bottom here. I completely neglect that, but yeah, it looks like there's different ones for each biome that are just out in the open, but there can also be like hidden ones underground. This one seems to be like for zone 3 up the top, zone 1, zone 4, zone 2. So it looks like there's ones for every single one. Next one are the Scaraks. Now we have the Scarak Warrior, the Scarak Locust, the Scarak Worker, the Scarak Tank, the Scarak Larva, and the Larva. I sound like Bristolian then. And the Scarak Egg Sacs, but we also have the Scarak Broodmother. Now take that number into account. It says Broodmother, but where's the queen? Because usually, even though the queen gives birth, it doesn't say that this is the Scarak Queen, more or less. And if you look at the top and bottom here, you can see that the queen sort of resembles the broodmother, but at the same time, it's like, why didn't they go with the Scarak Queen then? And that's why I think that the queen is going to be a completely different thing in itself. Maybe like an early living type of broodmother, so like it hasn't evolved into its broodmother state yet. Here is the sharks. Now, I think most of the sharks in the game will be hammerheads, because you can see from most of the images and basically just everything. And here is also the Far Ocean Kraken, so that's where it ties into again. Will there be 2 different types of Kraken? I'd really love to see that. That would be epic. And there's also the crabs there. We also have the Howling Sands Scarak architecture. Now, if you see here, you can see the Scarak rune and everything, the sand Paris, the prison cave entrance. And this is what I think is going to be big, because if you see the ziggurat here, you can see like a crystal form, and then it seems what is to be like a pyramid of some sort. And this seems like it goes into more Scarak entrance, so that could be used for basically anything that the Scaraks need, and maybe that's where the Scarak Queen will be. Here is the Temple of Gaia. Everybody knows it, but there's also other stuff you can see here. So there's of course the 5 elements: earth, wind, lightning, fire, and I keep on forgetting the 5th one. Earth, wind, fire, water, earth. Oh, okay, I guess I forgot out water or something, I don't know. But there's also another 6th tower, and it looks to be like a white crystal of some sort. So maybe you have to like research types of magics to be able to put back in the light magic in there, so then you can restore Orbis. Here we also have Varan spawn sketches, so this must be like the children of Varan, or maybe minions, I don't know, but they look extremely dangerous, and they look like that one villain from Pirates of the Caribbean. I forgot his name, but yeah. Here's some sketches of the Zone 3 mobs, the Cave Rex, which I feel like is going to be like the main boss of that zone. We also have Raptor, Dimetrodon. Now the Dimetrodon is actually one of my favorite dinosaurs. I just love the Dimetrodon and I love the design they actually went with for it, because the Dimetrodon lives in like swampy areas, so it's a really good and fitting dinosaur that they decided to put in that zone. There's also the prehistoric chicken, epic, but also we have monkey! Woo! Monkey, epic. Okay, then we got the world zones. Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, Zone 4. Now, we basically know almost everything about these zones. Little to nothing basically hasn't been discovered. However, if you see in that tiny bit to the right of Zone 1, you can see what seems to be like a shadow thing or a void thing holding some sort of weapon. So there might be like a second void boss. Not only is there like the void spider, but there's also like a void thing that you need to kill as well. I've shown this as well, the void spiders, and how you might have to defend like trees of some sort. So yeah, also the sticky web that comes out of its mouth, which sort of makes no sense, because I mean, silk comes from, well, like the butt, doesn't it? Of, well, it isn't the butt of the spider, but I forgot what it's called, the scientific name for it, but who cares. Now, the tropical jungle research. This looks incredible, because if you look at the picture view of a cave, you can see just how big it is, and it reminds me of an anime called Into the Abyss, I think it's called. I don't know, I haven't watched it in a long time. But it reminds me of that, because it's like so deep, and there's like tons of like flourishing life in it, and it's just insane. And I like to think that they might have like took inspiration for that and put it in there. So next we have the Ultraverses, Orbis, Numdrazzle, Nexus, Torbalin, and Karpak. Now, the thing is that these represent what seems to be like a lot of things. Now, I think Numdrazzle is actually on the moon, and that would make sense. So maybe like Numdrazzle's just like somewhere on the moon, and you have to go there. Then there's Nexus. Now, Nexus, I don't know really what that reminded me of, and I was thinking of what like planet could it relate to, and I thought of maybe something like, I don't know, Mercury. And the thing about that is Mercury is like really small, and Orbis is supposed to be the smallest planet in the Ultraverse's basic concept. And then I realized they aren't called planets, they're called Ultraverses, so they might just be like different iterations of Orbis that have evolved in different ways. So say like Nexus is where the Void completely took over, Torbalin is basically where the Scarix took over, Numdrazzle is where basically nothing bad ever happened to the world, and it's all purified. Karpak is basically, I don't really know how to describe what or how Orbis could evolve into Karpak. It makes no sense to me. But the fact that it has two suns or moons or whatever could relate to that, but I don't really know. I mean, this game hasn't even released yet, so you know, I'm just going off with whatever I can think here. Here we have another picture of Zone 4, very ominous, and it looks like it blends in with Zone 3 extremely well, even though snow is right next to lava, so yeah, that blends in extremely well. Here's a Zone 2, what looks to be like dungeon, and it looks like there's a library here with a chest and also the skeleton archer. So you might have to go there to maybe learn more magic, and then you can open the chest, or you need to get a key from a certain type of skeleton to open the chest. Then here is a gate to a dungeon. Now, how dungeons I want to work as are two things. You go into the dungeon, and there's two ways you can beat them. Either one, you need to find a certain item to complete the dungeon, and then you'll be able to get the reward items. Or two, you can defeat the boss, and you'll get the reward items that way. Now, what would be about option one is that you would have to keep on going through the dungeon until it finally, until like that item finally drops. So it would obviously have like probably a low drop rate, maybe something like 1% or under 1%. But then there's also, even though it's less time consuming, it's probably more difficult, and that's defeating the dungeon boss. So I'd really like there to be some sort of like, you can complete the dungeon by just doing it by yourself, but maybe sometimes you would have to either get really far in the game to defeat those dungeons all by yourself and the dungeon bosses, or it like gets you to like invite more friends to the game and help you with that certain dungeon. Here we have the thumbnail for the Hytale trailer. Insanely cool, the ice dragon in the background. It reminds me of the ice dragon from Lego Ninjago. Very funny. Here's the hammerhead sharks with the I forgot what those frog people are called. God damn it. Oh well. Here are the void eyes in their 3D versions instead of just concept art, and it looks like those giant thorium beasts type things are in the background. So in the early game, they might pose as like a really big threat, like mini boss level, but maybe in late game, they'll just pose as just any other enemy that's like easy to defeat. Here we have what seems to be like another dungeon, very scary. Well, maybe not a dungeon, I mean it looks to be like probably a mine shaft or some sort of thing, so like a prefab of something. Here, what looks to be like a prefab of another cave. This looks to be zone 1 or zone 4. One of the two, I feel like, is zone 4 due to the fact if you look up at the vegetation and everything, you can see everything's like all reddish, and that ties into a lot of the zone 4 like color palettes. Now we're on to the last 3 images here. We have one which looks to be like a guy running from goblins wearing wooden armor and some iron gauntlets and iron helmet with an iron sword. So he might have, say, underestimated the dungeon too much, and he needs to go mining to get more iron tools, otherwise he won't be able to take out the dungeon with those type of weapons, which is perfectly understanding. I mean, if you go through a dungeon really early on, they're gonna want you to make it hard. They're gonna want to make the game to be harder, because if the game isn't that hard, then that means you can just get end zone loot from that dungeon and then probably go over to, say, like zone 5 or 6 and then fight the void dragon straight away. You know what I mean? So yeah, the final 2 images here. Spiders. Really hate them. There seems to be 2 different types of spiders, surface spiders and cave spiders. The cave spiders look like a whitish color, so yeah, I really don't like them. I really don't. I hope I don't come across a spider cave in my playthrough of the game. I probably will though, and it will scare the hell out of me, and I am petrified of spiders, so I'll probably scream. And our final image here, we have another one of those green guys, what seems to be like he's protecting some crystals in zone 2 with his giant thorium cleaver or machete sword type thing, and some thorium armor. So that's the end of this Hytale video. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe. I also opened a Hytale Discord if you want to join it. We are basically gonna be talking about like the Hytale community and everyone behind it, and you can be in a video in the future there later on, maybe. So yeah, go join it. It will be in the link. There'll be a link in the description below, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.